Okay, so this week we had a random PvP event just rear its head. And then on top of that, we got so many updates for what is coming in the autumn update for Pax Dei. That's what we're going to be talking about today mostly. So hello and welcome all of you extremely professional consumers of Pax Dei and Pax Dei related content out there. I'm Altari, the professional gamer, and this is the Pax Friday Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has dropped for Pax Dei over the last week. And like I said, there is a lot to talk about here. We have pictures of new spells, we got the names, we got images of new armor pieces, new building pieces, including that elusive grapevines or vines of some sort that we've been waiting for and we keep on seeing in a bunch of different pictures and all of that. So really exciting that we have that. Plus we also got some updates on things that are coming that are definitely in the works, but are not going to actually be in yet. So we'll talk about that as well. First things first, if you haven't done so already, please do drop a like for this video. It helps us out. Subscribe so you can get notified whenever we come out with new Pax Dei or Pax Dei related content, and share with any of your friends who might be interested in Pax Dei. Next week is going to be a week, y'all. So you want to make sure that you're getting those updates because I know we are going to have stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and go over to playpaxday.com and take a look at all of the Proving Grounds additional changes spotlight. I'll see you over there. All right, so here we are on playpaxday.com looking at the spotlight for Proving Grounds additional changes. Now, there is a lot of really cool little tidbits here, so I am going to try and hit all of them for you today. Now, first and foremost, we know that we're going to be getting the new journal feature, which is going to allow us to look up recipes and all of that. Eventually, that will allow you to queue up recipes potentially and be able to have listings of all of the things that you're going to need in order to craft X number of particular pieces of armor or whatever it might be. So that is really, really cool. But then they also mentioned, on a side note, we heard your feedback asking for a recycling feature. They mentioned that they do have a design for it, but it's just not going to make it into this update. But they said it is in their future plans. So great job, community, communicating that to them, because it looks like we will be getting that in the future. Now, up next, they also mentioned that they're going to be going through a resource distribution revamp. And that is because the world is getting resculpted. There's new stuff that is going to be coming and a new biome, to say the least. So because those things are changing, they are now having to change a couple of the locations for things. They did say, in addition to that, as a closing note, we did not make any changes to pure iron nodes. I know there was some concern in the community on the official Discord where they were worried that the pure iron nodes are going to be changing where they spawn in at. Specifically, there are a couple of biomes in the PvE areas where, in the wilderness at least, you can go and get some pure iron, and not just in Lioness. So those aren't changing. They can still be found outside of Lioness. And the only difference is that there's just fewer nodes compared to Lioness that has an abundance of them. Next up, there are some recipe updates. So most of the professions are getting updates to their recipes according to the biomic progression that is there. I think this is kind of like a Valheim-like pattern that Mainframe is kind of following here, where you go and advance through different biomes as you go. So one important update is that we will start to add a Bronze Age before Iron. So Iron is actually going to be a tier 2 as opposed to a tier 1, and it looks like Bronze is going to be the initial tier that you're going to start crafting at for your metal items. And then starting leatherworking and tailoring should also be much more easier. For a lot of people, when they were first coming in, you were just failing a lot and it sucked. So I'm glad to see that change came. And then the first magic pieces of gear will also be easy to find and craft. Another big request by the community was not many people actually got to experience magic because it was a lot more difficult for them to find. So it's really good that we're getting that as well. And then recipe unlock mechanics, they're adjusting the unlock mechanics for recipes based on skill and items needed, ensuring that there's a more balanced and logical progression. And this is also going to prevent new players from just being overwhelmed by a million different game recipes coming to them in the first couple of hours of playing the game. Storage management, here is a very, very big feature that I know a lot of people are going to be excited about, and that is that you can move all of your stacked items at once. That is huge. I know it sounds like a small thing, but this is a really big quality of life. And then also we got some new building pieces. So there looks to be several different building pieces coming. In this particular part here, we can see that we have vines that are growing on the side of walls. This is going to be really great for adding texture to our cities, making them feel more lived in and more realistic in that way. And we also got several different beams. So we've seen this image on the bottom before. This isn't necessarily a new image, but it is cool to see that we're getting a couple of different types of beams. There's going to be some really awesome, just incredible builds that we're going to be able to make off of these, and I'm really looking forward to it. Another thing in terms of resource gathering, we're getting one-click chopping and mining, another big quality of life feature. You don't have to sit there and do the trick that everyone knows about where you go and left click and then open your map and then close your map and now you're doing it. It's just you're going to left click and your character will mine or chop until you run out of stamina, you're dead, or the node is completely empty for harvesting. So that being there's also an improvement for targeting in melee combat, which also is going to help you with targeting for the gathering combat that exists in game. No, but it's going to help with being able to gather your target. You don't have to be standing directly in front of a tree in order to gather. Another big quality of life is going to be the improvement for your mining. The mining and wood cutting skills are now going to directly correlate with the quantity or your proficiency with gathering resources. So the more proficient you are, the faster you can actually gather the resources, though it doesn't seem that they were very clear. Does that just mean we're knocking the trees down faster and therefore we're getting more resources? Or is it because we're getting more resources per kind of iteration on the node? That isn't clear, but to me, it kind of reads like they are changing the character's damage output, which is just going to help you get through the node faster. And then another exciting turn of events is skinning is coming into the game. And that is going to be able to help determine the quality of hides that you can process from an animal. So that is really, really cool. And we will have to level this up from scratch. So a lot of people are going to be working on their skinning discipline here in the future. Now, a couple of other changes that they did want to mention is loot permissions are coming, and you can actually see in the picture right here is we have a free-for-all in 4 minutes and 19 seconds. So what it looks like here is when the character or a player party inflicts enough damage, it's going to be assigned to them. And then if they don't loot it in a certain amount of time, then they're going to open up for anyone to loot them. And it looks like that timeline is for 5 minutes. I know there's been some mixed feelings about this particular one with the loot permissions, but for the most part, this is something that's pretty standard across many games. And Mainframe's general pattern is not to systematize things in any particular way and allow the players to organize past that. So there are definitely ways and solutions that we as players can organize this, but I could definitely see there being additional problems if player groups are only size 6 and people are trying to group up and have multiple groups go through a dungeon like let's say with 12 people instead of 6? How are the different groups going to loot and all of that? I think there's some solutions to that, and some of those are what the Golden Company, the group that I'm in, we use that as well. So I think there are some solutions. You just have to be a little bit more creative with it. And then it also goes without saying that in PvP, loot permissions don't apply. Any PvP corpse is available for anyone to loot, making them a free-for-all. Another thing is that there's going to be some clan permissions changes. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago in a PAX Friday review, and this one is particularly to do with clan permissions to plot and items, so you can restrict access to aldermen or elders only. So this is really, really cool, where we are going to be able to create more. It's not creating more roles, but you're going to be able to assign more access levels based on someone's rank in your clan. That's going to be really, really big for a lot of larger groups that maybe don't have as much trust in their members as others do. And then we have some new magic gear. Now, this one is really, really cool. And I like it because of the lore tie-in here. So it says Auriel's tunic, Auriel's leggings, and Auriel's treads. All three of these are named after the sixth Redeemer, known as Auriel, who is also the person who founded the Redeemer, who founded the monasteries that are all scattered around Pax Dei. And specifically, you can go take a look at one of these. If you're in Ancien, just north of Gravas, you can go take a look. But really cool that we have these three. And then in addition to that, we have the Breath of Life, Breath of Balance, and Breath of Joy spells. Unfortunately, they didn't hover over them, so we can't see what they actually look like. But either way, really, really cool. And then we have some updated gear design, and it goes without saying. So for the different breaths, it ties directly into the lore post that came out a couple of weeks ago, talking about how magic is formed, and it's kind of like breaths is kind of a motif that was in that lore as well. So now we're getting spells that are named after that too, which is really, really cool. Now, I'd be interested to see what you all in the comments think that these spells are going to do now that we have their names, but we don't have their actual abilities yet. Let me know down in the description below. And then on top of that, we have the new updated gear, and there's a couple here. So we have like the rulers, pauldrons, Belial's robes. This looks like one of the fireball bracers. And then, well, we're going to take a look at these in screenshots here in a little bit anyways. So just stay tuned and we'll find that out. But that is pretty much all of the new updates that are coming, and very, very exciting. I'm really pumped to see all of these things kind of come out. I know that a lot of the magical items are kind of being changed and reskinned. I'm so excited to see what everyone looks like after the patch. But let's go ahead and take a quick look over on the other post that came out this week, which was talking about a PvP event that is currently ongoing. I will see you over there. All right, so here we are at the other post, and this is Conquer Lioness limited time PvP building event. So this started on Tuesday, and this is pretty exciting. So they opened up building inside of Lioness, which is the PvP zone in Pax Dei. And this is kind of a test. It looks like this might be something that is leading into potential new PvP features in the future. So I'm excited to see where they're going with it. Now, a couple of things to note, and this is probably something that most people aren't going to be participating in, but if you are, just do note that all of your buildings are still permanent buildings. What's on your plot is on your plot currently. There's no health points on these building structures or anything like that. So no one's going to destroy anything that you're building, but I think they just wanted to test really what players are doing and how they're interacting in the actual situation where they might be defending something of their own, or how they build around PvP areas like this. And I think they're trying to get some initial data to maybe inform future map making decisions, specifically in areas where PvP can exist. And they also might be trying to incentivize a little bit more PvP to happen as well. Now, There are a couple of things that they wanted to answer, specifically like how long will the test last? It's only going to last for another week. It ends on November 5th with the maintenance that brings in the Proving Grounds update. If I'm idling or building on my plot, am I safe? No, you are not safe. If you're in Lioness and you're building on your plot, if you are in the PvP zone, you are not safe, period. If you're anywhere else, you're still safe. Don't be worried about it. It's only on the PvP map in Lioness specifically. On top of that, can other players destroy your buildings? No, they can't. That's something that we just touched on earlier. And then I don't have any remaining free plots. You don't get any additional. You have to remove one if you don't. A lot of people right now are cleaning up their plots in preparation for the plot wipe that is coming with the Proving Grounds update. So if you have an extra plot lying around, you might want to go try it out and build somewhere in Lioness, see what that's all about. And then with the upcoming wipe, what happens to the plot that you use in Lioness as a part of this? It's going to be the exact same thing as all of your other plots. They're just going to get stored away into your inventory receptacle for the update. And then after the maintenance on November 5th, after the Proving Grounds update comes out, you won't be able to place in Lioness anymore. This is really just a spot test. So that's all that we had for that as well. Let's go take a look at some of the screenshots that came out this week and take a closer gander at all of the new updated skins for some magical gear that exists in game. I'll see you over there. All right, so now let's take a closer look at all of the new gear that is coming in. Well, it's not new gear. It's new skins for current gear in most cases for magical items. And this first one is Bellmail's Charming Robe. It looks so cool now. I like how there's all of the texturing and the patterns that are going all throughout it. And just really, really awesome to see how the armor is evolving in Pax Dei. And then next up, and this is actually one of my favorite pieces of gear currently in Pax Dei, and it's the Arms of Andrina, one of the most difficult pieces of armor to get in game. It has one of the highest crafting values. I think it's like 45 or 47 right now. And they are really difficult to get, but they apply a heal over time on to you. And it is Blessed Renewal is the name of the spell. And that heal over time, it's Blessed Renewal 3. And it gives you additional heal over time in addition to if you have like Radiant Mend on you and you have the heal over time from that and Consecrated Ground. This is the way to really stack a lot of those benefits. Now, another thing that we didn't get to see or we haven't seen yet is it looks like these pauldrons might be updated as well. If I had to venture to say it based on how they look and how decked out this character is, these might be the majestic pauldrons, the ones that give you a really, really high level of Loyos Blessing. I believe it's Loyos Blessing 3. But either way, really, really cool to see both of those there. And then after that, we have the Valet's Leather Bracer. And this is a fireball spell here and really intricate design, like well painted, I guess. And I just really like how they're kind of making these magical items feel more magical and not just kind of something that a character's wearing. And then the last one that we got is the Ruler's Pauldrons, and these ones looked cool to begin with. They had that flowery kind of pattern that was on them before, but now we're also, the metal's a little bit darker, and then we have this kind of red filigree on it as well. So really, really cool how all of these are kind of getting made. And that is all we actually have for today's PAX Friday review as well. I hope you enjoyed it. And there is going to be a lot of stuff coming out next week. I would highly recommend hitting that like button, subscribing so that you can get notified when more stuff comes out, and share with any of your friends who might be interested in learning more about PAX Dei. But what a great week. I know some of us might be kind of anticipating a little bit more to come from this patch, and maybe there is some new information coming out next week to kind of show the rest of what will be coming, but it is a pretty sizable update. And we know that there's probably going to be another update coming in winter, most likely early winter. I don't know. That's kind of what it sounds like from what we've heard from the devs so far. So any of the stuff that we've been waiting for, like knighthoods or church gameplay or the market and coinage and stuff like that, I think that's probably something that's going to be coming down the line in the future, because we haven't heard about it for the autumn update. But either way, I wouldn't be disappointed, because I think there's a lot of stuff with the new PvE zones, or particularly the new PvE sites, and then all of these updates to armor and new spells and potentially new armor as well. So really cool to see all of those things, and I can't wait to get in on November 4th or 5th, whenever it comes out on your local time. So with that being said, I'm Altari the Professional Gamer, and I will see you in the next one.